Anybody notice Trump admitted he's losing, that he's getting killed in the polls? He tweeted it. That would explain the timing of today's latest, really kind of sad, made-up looking Oppo research to feed into the right-wing media echo chamber story of the day, starring the poor, mentally ill Rudy Giuliani and Ukraine. Wait, what was Trump impeached for again? Wasn't it blackmailing Ukraine into giving the poor, mentally ill Rudy Giuliani some Oppo research to feed into the right-wing media echo chamber, even if the Ukrainians had to make it up? Or am I misremembering that? Now about Trump's confession that he's losing. The tweets are largely white noise by now, but this was at the end of one rant about imaginary ballot harvesting in California. Quote, "California is in big trouble. Vote Trump and watch the greatest comeback of them all. Also New York and Illinois, go for it." Who knows what the parts about California and New York and Illinois mean? But in the middle, vote Trump and watch the greatest comeback of them all? To make the greatest comeback, you have to be losing by a lot, don't you? I might be making too much of this, but I also might be making too little. The website Business Insider reported that the Trump campaign nearly went broke over the summer. A GOP source close to the president said his re-election campaign would have been broke by the first week of October had Brad Parscale not been pushed aside. And if you saw the video of his arrest, when Brad Parscale gets pushed aside, he really gets pushed aside. They also quoted a former GOP insider as saying they don't have enough money to close out the race. There could be a third reason Trump is convinced he's losing. He lost something huge last night. Turns out he and his Igor in the Justice Department, Bill Barr, will not be able to arrest Joe Biden or Barack Obama or, I don't know, Frankenstein. Another investigation of a, quote, crime, unquote, against Trump that was, quote, bigger than Watergate, unquote, not only turned up nothing, but the investigator who was leading it has quit the Department of Justice. This was part of the unmasking nonsense in which the paranoid Trump supporters like Devin Nunes insisted that President Obama and Vice President Pence and, I don't know, Dracula or somebody had illegally sought to unmask the names of individuals who turned up in the investigations of the Trump campaign, proven connections to and coordination with Russian operatives. The Washington Post now reports that U.S. Attorney John Bash concluded his review of the Trump unmasking without filing any criminal charges, didn't even put out a public report or summary, and then he quit the job. This news comes just days after John Durham, another U.S. attorney on a separate unmasking wild goose chase on the orders of Commissar Barr, told Barr, and Barr had to tell Trump, that whatever he had or had not found, there were not going to be any prosecutions or report before the election. Trump's play here, of course, is to just shut up about all this. Do not tell his idiot base that Bash struck out and that Durham is striking out and that nobody is coming in over those hills there to arrest Biden or Obama. Let them assume it's still a possibility. But inside that paranoid madhouse that is his brain, Trump was really invested in this idea, and it seems hard to believe that he will be able to not rage against Biden and Obama and Bash and Durham and Barr and, I don't know, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and thus reveal that, as usual, Trump's promises are just so much bullshit. However, there seems no way to hand Trump a loss in the Supreme Court nomination. Day 3 of the confirmation hearings, Trump appears to have nominated the least qualified person in this country. If Amy Coney Barrett were a foreign-born applicant for American citizenship, it is doubtful that she would get halfway through the sit-down interview before she would be asked to leave and leave the country. She appears to have no commitment to democracy, no knowledge of American history, and no awareness of the Constitution. Adding to yesterday's litany of evasions, she insists she did not know Trump vowed to appoint only justices who would overturn Obamacare and overturn Roe v. Wade yesterday, but she does know it today. She cannot recall if she's ever voted by mail, even though records show she voted by mail in 2016. Asked by a Republican to name the 5 freedoms protected by the First Amendment, she could only think of 4. She's refused to say if a president has the right to postpone an election. She's refused to say if a president needs to be committed to the peaceful transfer of power. She's claimed that's a political controversy. She has refused to commit to recusing from any decision on the current election's outcome, even though any lawsuit would doubtless be made by the authoritarian who appointed her. She has refused to say if she believes voter intimidation is illegal. It is illegal. It's Statute 18 USC 594. She's not sure if there's climate change. I have read things about climate change, she said. I would not say I have firm views on it. She says she's an originalist who believes the Constitution has, quote, the meaning that it had at the time people ratified it. That meaning doesn't change over time, and it's not up to me to update it, which I guess means that we still have slavery and women don't have the vote. She referred to sexual preference and then gave a flabby, if I've offended anybody, apology. And hilariously, she has twice declined to say if she agrees with her mentor Scalia that Roe v. Wade was wrongly decided. Says that would signal to litigants that I might tilt one way or the other. She doesn't think everybody recognizes that she tilted long ago. That's why she was nominated. She appeared in 2 newspaper advertisements against Roe v. Wade and against abortion rights, and she did not report the advertisements to the Senate. But that's okay, she says, because she had no recollection of those ads. And of course, in a bit of prearranged theater, Senator Cornyn asked her if she was relying on any notes, and would she hold up the notepad in front of her, and it was blank. Blank, like her qualifications for the Supreme Court. She's Sarah Palin with a better vocabulary. Of course, it is people like Amy Coney Barrett who vote for Trump. They are those whose lives prove the Dunning-Kruger syndrome, in which the smart people think everything they know is known by everybody else, and the not-so-smart ones think they are significantly smarter than everybody else. Trump is back on the campaign trail, oiling them up again, and something he said in Florida reminded me of one of the worst things he had done in his life before he positioned himself to become our dictator. Normal life, Trump told his maggots at a rally in Florida. That's all we want. It's so simple. And Trump, from early in his career as confidence trickster and manipulator of the stupid, has been expert at turning the unavoidable complexities of life into simplicities. You have failed. It's simple. It's the fault of all those minorities. You don't have what you want. It's simple. It's the fault of the Democrats who took it from you. You are faced with the threat of a virus that is for now at least the dominant form of life on this planet, a disease that could kill you or your mother or a neighbor in 2 weeks' time. It's simple. It's not real. And if it is real, it's the fault of China and Joe Biden. And all you want is a normal life. That's all we all want. I beat it. I'm cured. I'll give you the cure. You don't have to wear a mask. Normal life. That's all we want. It's what the maggots want to hear. And it made me think of something from long ago. 32 years back, Mike Tyson was the most ferocious boxer who ever lived. But Mike was the most ferocious boxer who ever lived because his brain didn't work quite right and they had to give him medications all the time. These had side effects. They drained Mike. They frustrated him. So a businessman he had met sat him down and said something to him like, "Why should you take these drugs? You're the heavyweight champion of the world. You can do whatever you want. Why should you be drained or have side effects? Normal life. That's all we want. Right, champ?" It's what Mike Tyson wanted to hear. The problem was, of course, the drugs were the only thing standing between Mike Tyson and uncontrollable anger and rage. The other problem was that the businessman was Donald Trump, and he got Mike to fire his longtime manager and instead hire him as a consultant. And Trump told Mike to only take the drugs if he felt like it. And 3 years later, Mike Tyson raped a woman and went to prison. But that was okay for Donald Trump because he didn't go to prison. A normal life. That's all we want. It is the oldest story in the world, and it was told again as Trump returned to the campaign trail this week, starting his plan to have a live rally somewhere every night until the election. You can sell anybody anything as long as you promise you've got the answers and you'll take care of all the details, even when you have control over none of the details. Like Donald Trump had control over none of Mike Tyson's details. Like Donald Trump had control over none of COVID-19's details. The oldest story. As the weather gets cold and the infections spike and COVID-19 kills another 150,000 before the end of the year, and many of them are the idiots who will go to these rallies and believe Donald Trump the way Mike Tyson believed him. A normal life. That's all we want. Not for you, of course. You die of COVID-19. Trump gets the normal life, or whatever his insane, hollow, humanoid version of normal life is.